warfare and science, two domains that, throughout history, have advanced side by side. One such chilling intersection is the development and use of nerve agents, the silent killers of the modern battlefield. Imagine a crucial messenger in your body being suddenly silenced. Nerve agents do just that. By interfering with neurotransmitters, they lead to a harrowing symphony of symptoms: difficulty breathing, blurred vision, and ultimately, in high doses, death. The gruesome realities of nerve agents are nothing to be taken lightly. Today we will be diving into such realities, and we will discuss the creation, use, and controversy surrounding these effective killers. We can all agree that warfare, be it in our nature, brings out the darkest aspects of humanity. The destruction of many empires and people has been the ongoing outcome of countless wars since the beginning of man, driven by political gains, resources, and racial or religious divides alike. Although this is true, it is hard to argue the need for innovation in such times. Many of the things we take for granted today can be attributed to the necessity for new ways to save lives and to put your respective country one step ahead of their adversaries. From the big to the small, from canned foods and duct tape, to the internet and radars for air traffic control. Today, we dive into a world of science, controversy, and death brought about by the invention of nerve agents. First, let's discuss some of the first nerve agents ever developed. Let's go to Germany, the year 1936. A country known for its scientific prowess at the time was where a chemist named Dr. Gerhard Schrader inadvertently birthed a new class of chemical warfare. Schrader was born in Bortfeld near Wendeburg, Germany. He attended gymnasium in Braunschweig and later studied chemistry at Braunschweig University of Technology. He was later employed at the Bayer AG division of IG Farben. This was where the first nerve agent, Tabun, was synthesized while trying to create more effective pesticides. Tabun was made on an industrial scale by Germany during World War II, based on a process developed by Gerhard Schrader in the chemical agent factory in Die Herrnfurt and der Oder, codenamed Hochwerk. At least 12,000 metric tons of this agent were manufactured between 1942 and 1945. Tabun was only the start. Soon after its synthesis in 1936, GB sarin was created in 1937, GD soman was created in 1944, and GF cyclosarin was a product of commercial insecticide laboratories prior to World War II that had been weaponized. Although produced on a mass scale, these nerve agents wouldn't see any use in World War II, but later on in conflicts such as the Iran-Iraq War that took place from 1980 to 1988. As a result, heartbreaking incidents such as the Halabja massacre of 1988 became a harrowing new reality. On March 16, 1988, the Iraqi military attacked Halabja, a Kurdish town in northern Iraq, with chemical weapons. An estimated 5,000 civilians were killed. More than 10,000 were injured. A horrifying display of the damage and displacement brought about by chemical warfare.
The attack in Halabja was ordered by Saddam Hussein's regime, which had launched a war against Iran 8 years earlier. The Iranian army had moved into the area, and General Ali Hassan al-Majid, who became known as Chemical Ali, launched the offensive. He was hung in Baghdad in 2010 for his role. The noose is on display here.
5 years later, with the Chemical Weapons Convention being signed on January 13, 1993, these weapons were labeled weapons of mass destruction and ultimately outlawed, becoming effective on April 29, 1997. Only Egypt, North Korea, and South Sudan have neither signed nor acceded to the convention. With new science seemingly breaking ground in the ever-changing landscapes of war, other countries soon followed suit in the synthesis of their own nerve agents and chemical weapon stockpiles. In the 1950s, the United Kingdom developed their own series of chemical agents known as the V-Series. The V-Series, being the second family of nerve agents, contains 5 well-known members: VE, VG, VM, VR, and VX, along with several more obscure analogues. The VX variant of this class is the most well-known and has been studied more thoroughly. The story of its creation isn't unlike anything we've already discussed. In fact, it's almost identical. While working at the Plant Protection Laboratories of Imperial Chemical Industries, or ICI, chemist Ranajit Ghosh was investigating a class of organophosphate compounds where he inadvertently created a new family of chemical agents that were more potent and more severe than its predecessor. For anyone curious, Organophosphates are chemical substances produced by the process of esterification between phosphoric acid and alcohol. Esterification is the process of combining an organic acid with an alcohol to form an ester and water, or a chemical reaction resulting in the formation of at least one ester product. An ester is a compound derived from an acid, organic or inorganic, in which the hydrogen atom of at least one acidic hydroxyl group of that acid is replaced by an organyl group. The science behind this discovery can be talked about all day, and to a lot of you without a chemistry background, these words mean nothing to you. So I'd like to just focus on the results of such research. VX, short for venomous agent X, is one of the best known of the V nerve agents and was first discovered at Porton Down by Ranajit Ghosh in England during the early 1950s based on research first done by Gerhard Schrader, as mentioned previously. VX is an extremely toxic synthetic chemical compound in the organophosphorus class. VX fatalities occur with exposure to tens of milligram quantities via inhalation or absorption through skin. Meaning VX is more potent than sarin, another nerve agent with a similar mechanism of action, and any other agents in its respective series. VX is an odorless and tasteless chemical compound. Under standard conditions, it is an amber-colored liquid with a boiling point of 298 degrees Celsius or 568 degrees Fahrenheit. To get it to freeze, you would need to reach the low point of -51 degrees Celsius or -60 degrees Fahrenheit. The chemical compound itself has a density similar to that of water. When weaponized, it can be dispersed as a liquid, aerosol, or as a mixture with a clay or talc thickening agent. The VX chemical compound is a neurotransmitter inhibitor, specifically a acetylcholinesterase inhibitor. It blocks the function of the enzyme acetylcholinesterase in motor neurons. A motor neuron, also known as a motor neuron or efferent neuron, is a neuron located in the motor cortex. Majority of us know it as the brainstem or the spinal cord. And this is where fibers project to the spinal cord or outside of the spinal cord to directly or indirectly control effector organs, mainly muscles and glands. To some, the science behind the mechanism is an interesting topic. But to put things into layman's terms, coming into contact with this agent ultimately causes disruptions in the communication between your brain, your muscles, and organs. This causes the muscles to have violent involuntary contractions and can cause paralysis. Early symptoms of skin contact include local sweating and muscular twitching at the area of exposure, followed by nausea or vomiting. Early symptoms of exposure to VX vapor include runny nose and/or tightness in the chest, with shortness of breath, bronchial constriction. Prolonged contractions can result in sustained paralysis of the diaphragm muscle that causes death by asphyxiation. These contractions can also affect the heart, causing cardiac arrest. While those exposed can be treated, neurological damage can be permanent.
This is to be used only after symptoms of nerve agent poisoning appear, never before. Nerve agents work fast, so the atropine must be injected quickly in order that it can go to work before the muscles become paralyzed.
Although developed by the United Kingdom, this agent didn't see use until later years, namely in 1988, during the Angolan Civil War that took place from 1975 to 2002. Traces of this toxic killer was found in the soil by UN toxicologists. A United Nations inquiry established that Cuba was responsible for deploying VX against Angolan insurgents during the Angolan Civil War. This silent killer was also used outside of the battlefield for assassinations. In December 1994 and January 1995, Masami Tsuchiya of Aum Shinrikyo synthesized 100 to 200 grams of VX, which was used to attack 3 people. 2 people were injured, and one 28-year-old man died, who was the first victim of VX ever documented in the world at that time. Doctors in the hospital suspected at the time he had been poisoned with an organophosphate pesticide, but the cause of death was pinned down only after cult members arrested for the Tokyo subway sarin attack confessed to the killing. Another notable instance, stemming from modern day, occurred on the 13th of February 2017. Kim Jong-nam, half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, died after an assault at Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia. Authorities and toxicologists confirmed that the chemical agent VX was found on his face. although this agent has only seen use outside of the battlefield. As a chemical weapon, it was categorized as a weapon of mass destruction by the United Nations and was banned by the Chemical Weapons Convention of 1993. The Soviet Union during the Cold War took it upon itself to develop its own class of chemical agents, known as Novichok agents. Information about these chemical weapons were kept highly secret, given the rising tensions between the United States and the Soviets. Much of what is known about them has come from defectors and later declassifications. These chemical weapons were once initially produced at the State Scientific Research Institute of Organic Chemistry and Technology in Moscow during an operation codenamed Foliant. These agents were also found to be developed in Iran some years later. 5 Novichok variants are believed to have been adapted for military use. Specific agents include Novichok 5, Novichok 7, and others. Their exact formulas are highly classified. Novichok agents are binary weapons, meaning that they are made by mixing 2 less toxic chemical components. They are a subgroup of V agents and part of the 4th-generation chemical weapons. Synthesizing Novichok agents requires a deep understanding of organophosphorus chemistry, as mentioned previously when we discussed the VX chemical compound. The synthesis process involves the combination of precursor chemicals under controlled conditions. This requires specialized equipment and significant expertise. And through this process, Russian scientists who developed the nerve agents claim they are the deadliest ever made, with some variants possibly 5 to 8 times more potent than VX, and others up to 10 times more potent than Soman. You can only imagine the horrific effects these chemicals have on the human body, given the description of the symptoms in the last segment. Symptoms such as runny nose, tightness in the chest, and constriction of the pupils once exposed. As the agent progressively inhibits your nervous system, symptoms only become more extreme. Reactions such as vomiting, involuntary defecation, urination, convulsions, and unconsciousness. Ultimately, death can result from asphyxiation or cardiac arrest. Even if the victim survives, they may suffer long-term neurological damage. Antidotes for these agents do exist, including pralidoxime and atropine, which can be effective if administered promptly. Protective gear can also prevent exposure. These agents never saw any use on the battlefield, but in the 1980s, there were allegations that the Soviet Union provided technical assistance to Iraq for developing chemical weapons, including Novichok agents. However, these claims were never definitively proven. The existence of Novichok agents was denied by many authorities within Russia until the Salisbury incident. In 2018, a Novichok agent was used in Salisbury, UK, in an attack against former Russian spy and double agent Sergei Skripal, as well as his daughter Yulia. The incident led to a serious diplomatic rift between the UK and Russia. Both Sergei and Yulia Skripal spent several weeks in the hospital in a critical condition before being discharged. A police officer, Nick Bailey, was also taken into intensive care after attending the incident and was later discharged. The response was swift, and the British government accused Russia of attempted murder and began a series of corrective measures in retaliation, including the expulsion of Russian diplomats from the country. The United Kingdom's official documented assessment of the incident was supported by 28 other countries that acted similarly. By the end of March 2018, 153 Russian diplomats were expelled from these countries. As you could probably guess, Russia was not too happy about this and denied any responsibility for the poisoning. On the 30th of June 2018, a similar poisoning of 2 British nationals in Amesbury, 7 miles or 11 kilometers north of Salisbury, involved the same nerve agent. A man named Charlie Rowley found a perfume bottle, later discovered to contain the agent, in a litter bin somewhere in Salisbury and gave it to Dawn Sturgis, who sprayed it on her wrist. Within 15 minutes, Sturgis became gravely ill and died on July 8th, but Rowley, who also came into contact with the poison, was lucky enough to survive. British police believe this incident was not a targeted attack, but a result of the way the nerve agent was disposed of after the poisoning in Salisbury.
the same substance used 4 months ago in the attempted murder of former Russian double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia.
It is unbelievable we are here today to talk about another Novichok nerve agent incident.
This news conference all about reassuring people under not very reassuring circumstances.
These incidents prompted investigations into who was responsible. And 2 years later, in 2020, Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny was allegedly poisoned with a Novichok agent. He was treated in Germany, and the incident further strained relations between Russia and Western countries. These agents in particular illustrate the ongoing challenges in both controlling the proliferation of chemical weapons and holding those responsible for their development and use accountable. Overall, the Novichok group of nerve agents represents a significant and controversial aspect of modern chemical warfare. Their development was carried out under deep secrecy, and the few instances of their confirmed usage have had profound geopolitical consequences. Humanity has proven time and time again that the power of our minds and our ability to build and adapt can be used for much more. Nerve agents are a sobering reminder of humanity's double-edged capability to create tools for both destruction and progress. As we remember the past, let's also envision a future where such weapons are relics, never to be used again. We must see the consequences of our actions and the consequences of our innovation so that the past does not repeat full circle, so we do not destroy ourselves. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and I appreciate you tuning into this discussion, and I hope you guys learned something today. I hope to see you again in the next video.